Sign this before you board, my mom said as I rushed through the kitchen. Late for my flight. It's just insurance. I was already half out the door. Bag unzipped. Uber idling in the driveway. My laptop charger dangling from my shoulder like a lazy snake. I didn't stop to read. The form looked familiar, boilerplate stuff. Maybe medical power of attorney. Maybe liability release. She'd done this before. Always overly prepared. A little dramatic. Just in case. So I signed. Scribbled my name. Kissed her cheek. Mumbled something about calling when I landed. Then I left. 3 days later, I was in a hotel elevator in Seattle, halfway to a client dinner, when my phone buzzed. You've been charged $48.700. Safari Experience X12. I stared. I didn't blink. I didn't breathe. 12 tickets? One transaction? I fumbled to open my banking app. There it was, almost 50 grand gone. The merchant? Royal Horizon Safaris, South Africa. I hadn't even left the country. And then, of course, Instagram lit up. My cousin Jenny had posted a reel, elephants in the distance. Champagne flutes clinking. A toast in a luxury lodge with the caption, when family means everything. #blessed #safari dreams. My mom was in the video. So was my dad, laughing in full safari beige like he was in a catalog shoot. My sister had her arms around her boyfriend, holding her glass like she'd earned it. And me? I was 7.000 miles away, watching it all on my phone screen like a stranger. Then came the voicemail. It was Dad. His voice was smug, that same chuckle he always used when he thought he'd outsmarted someone. Well, technically, it's your credit now. That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just that. I didn't call back. I didn't yell. I didn't ask why. I texted. Cool. Can't wait to not pay it. Then I called the bank. I explained everything. Fraud. Coercion. Unauthorized use. They froze the card that same day. The booking? Cancelled. The trip? Unraveled. And that, surprisingly, was just the beginning. I didn't expect a reply. Didn't expect regret. What I got instead was silence. No calls. No texts. Just the same digital quiet that always came after they took something and hoped I wouldn't notice until it was too late. And the worst part? It wasn't even about the money at first. That came later. At first, it was the disbelief. But this wasn't new. This wasn't the first time they'd crossed a line. Not even close. You don't just wake up to a $48.700 charge and a phone full of champagne reels unless you've trained your family to think it's okay. And I had. For years. It started with small things, groceries. Last-minute flight changes. Just help us this once. Dad's freelance work is slow right now. Emma lost her job again. Can you float the car payment? Every time. It was just this once. Every time. I believed them, because I wanted to. Because I thought I was the stable one. The one who didn't fall apart when the mortgage was overdue or the lights went out or someone's dog needed emergency surgery. They called me dependable. They said I was the rock. I thought that was love. It wasn't. It was grooming. I pulled up the document I had signed before my trip. This time, I read it line by line. Paragraph 4. Buried in fine print so small it practically needed a magnifying glass, contained a clause. The undersigned grants financial authorization for emergency family expenses, including but not limited to travel and booking, as deemed reasonable by the parents. Not emergency contacts. Not temporary caretakers. Parents. They'd written themselves into ownership. And somehow, I had let them. By the end of the week, I had more than charges. I had receipts. I had screenshots. I had the family group chat. Emma had forgotten she still had me in the WhatsApp banner thread. One night, lying in bed, I opened it. My stomach dropped. Photo. Dad mid-toast with a champagne bottle. Photo. Emma riding an elephant. Photo. Mom in designer sunglasses. Captioned. #best life. Then a message from Emma. Thanks again to our favorite little sponsor. He still thinks it was Mom's birthday insurance. My name wasn't in it. But it didn't need to be. The comments followed. Cousin Mark. Classic. He'll probably cover the next one too. Uncle Richard. Tell him it was a data breach. He's too soft to press charges anyway. And then, Dad. If he was smarter, he'd be here instead of in Seattle pretending to work. They weren't hiding it. They didn't need to. Because I had taught them I wouldn't fight back. But they forgot one thing. I don't fight fair. I called my bank again. This time, I told them the signature was obtained under false pretenses. I wasn't vague. I didn't hedge. I explained everything in plain terms: coercion, deception, financial manipulation. The representative listened, then transferred me to the fraud department. Within hours, they escalated the case. That same night, I emailed a lawyer I had worked with years ago for a tenant dispute. I didn't expect her to remember me, but she did. She sent over a fraud affidavit template, a cease and desist letter, and a formal request for a full reversal of charges. It was clean, professional, airtight. I signed, attached my evidence, and hit send. The moment the email went out, something shifted inside me. This wasn't just about canceling a trip. It was about reclaiming everything they had stolen long before the $48,700. I opened Instagram, not to scroll, not to look at elephants, but to make a point. I posted a photo, a plain black background with white text that read, "Family doesn't mean free access. Not anymore." It was up for 5 minutes before I got my first message. "Cousin Aaron, are you okay? Did something happen?" I didn't reply. This part wasn't for the DMs. This was about accountability, not sympathy. The next day, my dad called. I let it go to voicemail. Then my mom sent a voice note, nearly 4 minutes long. Her voice was tired, performative. She said things like, "I don't understand what you're trying to prove. We're family. Families help each other. This is what love looks like." I laughed out loud in my kitchen. Because if that was love, I didn't want it. But they weren't finished. At 2 a.m. that night, I got another notification, an email confirming a change of address request on one of my backup credit cards. I hadn't submitted anything. The new address? My parents' house. Then another alert, a password reset request on my health insurance account. That wasn't love. That was identity theft. They weren't just greedy. They were strategic. They wanted control, not connection. So I booked a flight. Not to reconcile. To confront. I flew home, quietly. Without announcement. I brought one thing with me, a hard drive. The same one my dad used to back up family files. I found it behind the washing machine last fall. He must have forgotten it existed. I hadn't. It had everything. Photos, receipts, tax forms, and one folder titled, "Do Not Share, Safari." They wanted to talk. That's what the text said. "Let's meet. No drama. Somewhere calm." Then a second message. "We thought, maybe the zoo?" I stared at the message for a full minute. Then laughed. Loud. In public. Of course they'd pick the zoo. A place full of cages. A place where people pretend they're better than the animals inside. They already used my credit to see elephants in Africa. Why not beg for forgiveness next to the monkeys? I texted back. "Sure, let's make it full circle." Saturday, 2:14 p.m. I arrived early. There were shrieking kids, cotton candy, strollers everywhere. I sat on a bench near the lion enclosure, sipping iced coffee, waiting. 5 minutes later, I saw them. Dad wore sunglasses. Mom looked puffy and quiet. Emma was overdressed, like she expected cameras. They sat down across from me like it was a picnic. "Thanks for coming," Mom said. "Couldn't miss the chance to see wild creatures in their natural habitat." I replied. Dad jumped in first. "We didn't mean for it to go this far. You know how family is." I cut him off by pulling out my phone. I tapped the screen. "Do you remember this?" Then I played the voice memo. Emma's voice rang out, clear and smug. "He still thinks it was insurance. Lol. Can't believe he didn't even check the paper." I tapped again. Dad's voice. "Well, technically it's his credit now." Mom flinched. "You've been recording us?" she asked. "Nope," I said. Just pulled the audio from Emma's Instagram stories before she deleted them. Rookie move. I reached into my backpack and pulled out a folder. Inside was everything: the forged contract, the booking confirmations, chat screenshots, and a spreadsheet of every transaction. $48,724.36. I laid it all out across the bench like feeding time for vultures. "This is the bill. You got 10 days. Then my attorney takes over." Dad crossed his arms. "You're seriously doing this here? At the zoo? In front of strangers?" "Oh, I thought it was fitting." I said. "You already went on safari once. I figured I'd let you see what a real predator looks like." Emma exploded. "You're insane. It was money. You're acting like we killed someone." "Exactly," I said. "It was money. My name. My credit, my liability. And you toasted champagne with it. Mom tried again. You're blowing this out of proportion. I held up the contract she tricked me into signing. You forged this while I was trying to catch a flight. You laughed about it. You posted elephants and emojis while I ate dollar ramen in a hotel lobby. So no, I'm not blowing this up. I'm finally scaling it correctly. Dad stood up. You really want to go to war over paperwork? I stood too, calm. I already fought my battle. You just didn't notice, because I did it in silence. Then I stepped back and looked at them. Parents, sister, all dressed up, surrounded by zoo maps and snack wrappers. 10 days. The bank is watching, the lawyer's waiting, and I'm done pretending you didn't know exactly what you were doing. As I turned to leave, I saw the zoo sign behind them. Big red letters. Please do not feed the animals. I nodded toward it. Good advice. I wish I learned that sooner. I didn't look back. Not at them. Not at the past. Not at the lies. They brought me to a place full of cages. And I walked out the only one finally free. I thought that after the zoo, they'd go quiet. That maybe, for once, they understood. That something finally landed. That you can't rob someone's life, drain their finances, mock their trust, and expect them to keep the lights on for you. But the silence only lasted 48 hours. On the third day, they struck back. First, a photo. My mom holding a glass of wine, seated on the couch, smiling just enough to look reflective. Caption: families make mistakes, but revenge isn't healing. Then Emma posted, just a black screen with white text. Betrayal always comes from those you love most. And, of course, my dad followed. A shaky selfie video, shot from inside his truck. His voice was heavy, forced. My son sold us out for money. Pressed charges. Against his own blood. Comments were turned off. Naturally. This wasn't remorse. It was retaliation. I didn't comment. I didn't reply. I didn't even screenshot. I just shut down the last joint email account. Removed them from every remaining auto payment system. And pulled my name from any shared cloud drive. A few days passed. Then came the calls. Dad. Then mom. Then a lawyer. One who couldn't even pronounce my last name correctly. They weren't apologizing. They were threatening. One voicemail from my dad ended like this. If you think we're going to let this slide, you don't know what family is. We'll bounce back, but you'll be alone. And I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because alone was the goal. Alone meant peace. Alone meant no one had access to my accounts at 2 a.m. Alone meant no more surprise charges or guilt-ridden phone calls or being called a sponsor in a group chat. But they still weren't done. One night, I got a DM from Uncle Ed. He was one of the quiet ones. The kind who said, I don't take sides, while still eating at the table built on my back. His message, can we talk? Just us. No drama. I said yes. Not because I believed him, but because I wanted to hear what they said when no one else was watching. We met at a small coffee shop near my new office. Neutral ground. He sat down, took off his cap, stared into his coffee for a long time. Then finally said, I didn't know they went that far. I thought it was just another family mess. I could have stepped in. I didn't, and I'm sorry. I nodded. Then said, slowly, clearly, your silence wasn't neutral. It was complicity. You watched them drain me for years. When they finally crossed the line, you blinked and turned away. He didn't argue. He nodded again. But then came the part one knew was coming. The one that always comes. Just don't make this a war. He said, you'll destroy the family. And I answered, calm as ever. The family was destroyed the day you watched me drown and called it balance. That night, I opened my laptop. In a folder titled Fraud, Family. I now had over 120 files. Screenshots, group chat messages, the fake insurance form, booking receipts, voice memos. One of them included my mom's voice saying, you don't really read anything when you're rushing to catch a flight. Do you? I compiled everything, uploaded it to a private Google Drive. Then I posted a single image, black screen, white text. This is what family looks like when they think you won't fight back. The post went live at 10:03 a.m. 12 minutes later, my phone rang, then rang again. 23 missed calls by the end of the day. A text from my mom. Are you seriously trying to destroy us? I didn't respond. 3 days later, my dad posted another video from his truck. This one with tearless tears and a line I'll never forget. He filed a report against his own father. His own blood. But this time, the comments were different. Your son paid for your safari. You mocked him. Stop pretending to be a victim. We saw the screenshots. You treated him like a credit card. Not like family. Sit down. Even strangers had seen through the act. Emma tried going poetic again. Sometimes the ones who save you are the ones who drown you. And that's when I knew she still didn't get it. In her mind, I was supposed to suffer silently. Because that's what family meant to her. Not anymore. I moved forward. Registered a new business. New P.O. box. New number. Cut every tie. On the front door of my new office, I mounted a plaque. Not a fancy logo. Not my name. Just this. No family discounts. No family debt. When one of my cousins messaged, "You really think you're better than us now?" I replied with a single word. Exactly. The payments started trickling in. First, $18. Then, $21.300. Finally, $9.400. Each time the alert popped up, I just stared at it. No celebration. No grin. No group chat. Just silence. Because that's all it was. Debt repayment. Not redemption. They weren't rebuilding trust. They were buying my silence. And silence has no refund policy. The same day the final wire hit my account, $9.400. Completing the full repayment, I got a message. It was from my dad. Guess that makes us even now. Maybe we can talk like humans again. I stared at the screen. Not because I was conflicted, but because the absurdity was finally just quiet. Even? He stole from me, laughed about it, mocked me in a group chat, watched me spiral through confusion and damage control while he drank champagne in a country I didn't even know I'd paid to send him to. So I did the only thing that made sense. I blocked his number. No hesitation, no second guess, no sadness, just peace. An hour later, a message came from my mom. Not a sentence, not an explanation, just a broken heart emoji. I didn't reply. She didn't say sorry. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't even try to explain. I stared at the message, then opened her contact and turned off message previews entirely. I didn't want her words on my lock screen anymore. Then Emma. Just one word. Please. Please what? Please forget the pig emoji she sent in the family group chat? Please ignore the way she rerouted my insurance to herself at 2 a.m.? Please forgive the luxury safari photo dump she posted while my card hemorrhaged? No. I muted her for good. Not blocked. Not because I was leaving a door open, but because even her outrage didn't deserve a notification. No reply. Not even anger. Just distance. And for the first time in years, relief. That night, I opened my notes app. Wrote a single sentence I'd been repeating in my head. They paid me back, but trust was never refundable. I stared at it. Read it out loud once. Then again. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't bitter. It was just the truth. Then I opened the About Me section on my new business website. For the first time, I didn't write what I thought sounded polished or polite. I didn't write what I thought my family might read. I wrote for the version of me that had finally stopped asking permission. And I pasted that line, trust was never refundable. It's still there today. It didn't fix everything, but it freed me. I no longer flinched when I got a phone notification. I no longer calculated how many days until the next emergency. I no longer confused love with obligation. I started going to restaurants again. Sat at a table by myself. Paid in cash. Ate slowly. Didn't check my phone once. Not for likes. Not for guilt. Not for them. A month after the last payment, I got tagged in a post. It was from a second cousin trying to go viral. The caption read, "Imagine turning on your whole family for a few grand." It had 3 likes. I didn't reply. Didn't screenshot. Didn't even report it. I just blocked her. Because I hadn't turned on my family. I just stopped turning off my worth. Then I cleaned house. Every shared Google Drive? Deleted. Old family Dropbox? Nuked. Joint bank logins? Gone. Emergency fallback contacts? Removed. I enabled 2FA. VPN. Biometrics. Not because I was paranoid. But because I was finally done being accessible. But there was still one final thread. My phone number. So I went to the phone store midweek. No lines. No hassle. The clerk asked what I needed. I want a new number. Completely new. No transfers. No records. He paused. Want to keep your contacts? I smiled. No. I want to see who actually remembers me. 10 minutes later, I walked out clean. New SIM, new silence. Then I drove to my office. Until that day, the plaque on the front door read, "Open by appointment," but I'd ordered a new one the week prior. It had just arrived. I peeled off the old one, centered the new plaque on the glass, screwed it in tight. It read, "Built without borrowed blood." I stepped back, looked at it. I didn't cry, didn't call anyone to say, "Look what I did," because there was no one left to call. And that wasn't sad. That was freedom. Some weeks later, I met someone new, not romantically, a collaborator for a creative project. We were having coffee, swapping bios, casual conversation. Then they asked, "So, do you come from a big family?" I took a slow sip, set the cup down, thought about my answer, then said, "I used to. Now I just come from myself." They nodded. No follow-up, no awkward pause. And in that moment, I knew I was finally in the right room. One last thing. The same day I received the final wire transfer, the $9,400, my banking app showed a new notification. A comment from Cinder, the payment platform they used. The note attached read, "We're sorry. Hope you can forgive us someday." I copied the message, pasted it into a blank note, then deleted it, because if I ever needed proof that they still didn't understand what they had done. That message was it. They thought this was about money. It never was. It was about the theft of trust, the erasure of boundaries, and the expectation that I would bleed, smile, and say thank you. They paid me back, but I never came back.